Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm excited to be back with you. I hope you've been watching my other videos and following up and making sure you're sharing with your friends so that we are growing together. I'm excited today to be back with this topic. It's a topic in human resources that many people don't want to talk about, but it's things that are affecting us. And as I said, even now with the COVID-19, people have lost their jobs. So I want to just give you a brief summary of 7 things to do when you are unfairly dismissed from work. So when I say unfairly, it means you feel there's no legal grounds as to why you are fired from work. How does the employment talks about unfair dismissal? It talks about the things that need to be covered, but today, I'm not going to talk about the employment law aspect. I'm going to talk about general things that you can do when you feel you have been unfairly dismissed from an organization. I think at that time when people are being they're being unfairly dismissed, or when they're being told to go home, people are not, collected. People are not in their rational mind. There's lots of emotions going up and down. And you'll find some people are wrongly advised. Some people don't know what to do in certain situations. So today, as a HR professional, I'm going to give you 7 tips on what to do when you feel that you have been unfairly dismissed from your work organization. Number 1 is to keep calm. Keep calm because, as I said, when you've been told to go home, kazi imeisha, the emotions are running high because you're thinking, oh, I have these loans going. Oh, I have school fees. Oh, I have so much responsibility. What am I going to do? So the first thing I would request is you keep calm. You might not necessarily keep calm in that situation, but manage your emotions. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to go home and vent. If you need to call a friend, talk to that friend. But release those emotions before you react. You get what I'm saying? Don't react at that moment. Because I, as a HR professional, I've handled so many cases where you find someone has been told to go home and, they're already throwing words. They're writing bad emails. They're putting themselves in more problems than if they would have kept quiet and not responded and maybe walked away and vented elsewhere, and then with a rational mind now think through what they can do in that scenario. So number 1 is keep calm. Yeah, go and vent elsewhere, release your emotions, talk to people, release those stress that you have with you. Then you can come back with a clear mind to address the situation. Number 2 is write an appeal letter. Most of the time when people are being dismissed, you'll be given a letter that states why you have been dismissed. So write an appeal letter, state your case, and say, I feel I've been unfairly dismissed because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And make sure when you're writing that letter, you can send a copy to the labor office. There's labor office not only in Nairobi, but different towns and cities have labor offices. So if you write that appeal letter, you can write one and then CC it to your local labor office. You can even go online and check where your labor office is located and make sure that a copy of that letter reaches them. So write an appeal letter stating and giving facts as to why you feel the dismissals was unfair. You don't just write a vague letter saying, oh, I feel this was an unfair dismissal or termination. Give specific pointers as to why you feel they should relook into the case or relook into the termination. So once you've done the appeal letter, you've sent a copy to the labor office. Number 3, make sure you attend any follow-up meetings. This is something I've seen happening in situations where someone writes an appeal, then they abscond any other meetings. Or they refuse to take even the termination letter and go and keep quiet. they just disappear from the earth. They cannot be found on phone. They cannot be found on email. They are just, they've gone quiet. That is the worst way you can react. Make sure that once you write your appeal letter, if the organization is asking you to come back for a meeting, go for that meeting. Listen to what they have to say. Present your case again. You know, if you have any other further evidence to give it so that they are aware that this is what is happening and this is your story. This is where you're coming from. If you have a HR team that is rational, a HR team that is professional, they'll usually give you advice and say, yes, we think this is a good case. Let us relook into it. We'll get back to you. But let's just say in a scenario where it's not positive again. So you've been told that, yes, we've listened to your case, but we still feel you don't have, the organization doesn't have a reason to employ you again or to reinstate you into your position. What should you do next? Number 4, and this I always say, and I've stated it before, know your HR manual. Know what the employment law states. Know what, in that scenario where you're being dismissed, what does your organization policy state? Many people have access to their HR manual, have access to their employee code of conduct, have access to these documents that they literally ignore. They don't read, they don't ask questions, they don't follow up, and then when they find themselves in those specific scenarios, they cannot even counter. I mean, even legal-wise, we are always told, what does the law say? And the lawyers say, legally, this is what the law says. So even in those organizations, as you know what the organizational policy states, make sure that if you ever find yourself in a scenario where you need to counter what is happening, use the manual. Just say the manual says you're supposed to be given 3 warnings. You've only been given 1 warning, so what is going on? If it is gross misconduct, what does the law say? What does the policy say? What is your scenario? You know, if you've been put on a performance improvement plan and then you're being dismissed for underperforming, are there things to show that you've been supported to improve yourself? So those are the things and nuances in our policy that you can actually use to counter your case. Make sure that you know what your manual states. If there's updates on a yearly basis, look at those updates. Just don't ignore that, hiyo ni policy ile ya kawaida, you know, the manual states, hii ni ile tu ya kawaida. Make sure you always have the most updated copy. Because you'll find some people come to HR department and they start arguing with with things that were redundant, things that were obsolete because the manual changed and they never knew the manual changed. So it's good to always have the most updated manual. Number 5, draft a letter to the labor office. If all fails, I said all fails, you've tried, you've gone for an appeal, it's still not working, and you still feel you have a case, or you have issues that you want to be addressed, draft a letter to the labor office. Our labor offices are very friendly, and they listen to you. Walk there. Ask that you have an issue with the organization that employed you, and you want someone to listen to you. Usually you'll be given an appointment. Go there, sit down with the labor officer, talk through things. They'll ask you questions to follow up before they even reach out to the organization that you're talking about. So make sure you're carrying your evidence. Make sure you're carrying all the letters that you've been given. Make sure that you have your facts ready so that if the labor officer has to stand in the gap between you and that organization, there can be clarity on what is required. You find that the labor officers always have, if they feel you have a case, they have a case to respond, they'll even write a letter to that organization asking them to maybe pay you some money, asking them to reinstate you, asking them, the organization, to provide more evidence as to why they terminated you. So don't just ignore the labor office. It's a good place to start. If you feel that you are confident you have a case, the labor office is a good place to start. So when you're writing this letter, give a copy to the labor office. Make sure you are writing a copy to the organization so that the organization is aware that you've now gone to the labor office and you still need that case to be arbitrated with a third party. If all fails, if you feel you have a strong case, sue the organization. And I have to say this because it has happened. The only thing you need to be aware of when you're suing an organization is that our courts take so long to address these situations. And so it might not be a quick win as you might think. It might not be 1 year, it might not be 2 years. It can even take 5 years. So if you're taking an organization to court, you want to weigh against your finances. Because you might pay your lawyer today, you might not have money for tomorrow because, again, you're out of work, you're trying to survive. So before you take your case to the court, make sure that you're weighing your alternatives. If there was a way you could arbitrate your case with that organization, then do so. If there's a way you can settle out of court, do so. But if you feel all else have failed, the arbitration has failed, and you feel you are confident with your case, then feel free to go to the courts, get a lawyer, and sue that organization. But it will take a while for it to be addressed. Lastly, sometimes it's just good to accept and move on. Let me tell you, the stress of carrying the weight of going to court, collecting yourself, turning up for a court case, and then it does not happen, given a different date, given a different reason, it's still very traumatizing. And so if you're not ready for all that, sometimes you just hang up your boots and okay, I'm making peace with myself. I am not happy I was dismissed this way, but my life has to move on, and this is the decision I have made. It's okay to say that, yes, I have tried everything, I have hung up my boots, and I'm moving on with my life. So those are the 7 tips I wanted to talk about when you're talking about dismissal. There are so many things that we could talk about when you come to employment law, which I will tackle in another way. What is wrongful dismissal at work? What does the employment law say? How does it apply to you, maybe in your work settings and organizations? But for today, it was just things that people assume when they're dealing with their organizations pertaining to dismissal, wrongful dismissal from work. And I just wanted to put these things across from a HR perspective, because it is frustrating when you see people making mistakes when they're handling these scenarios, and there are things that can be helped. There are things that really can be helped. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to subscribe. My name is African Queen Grace. I'm excited to be with you in this journey, and I know we are going to grow together, not only in the HR side, but even in the social side. Thank you. Make sure you subscribe, you like, you share with your friends so that we are growing together. Don't just enjoy by yourself. Hello. Make sure your friends are enjoying as well. See you in the next video. Bye.